The arrogant arrival commander Zeth Corvain stood on the bridge of his flagship, the stellar destroyer Void Crusher, watching the star charts with satisfaction. His massive fleet of 500 warships moved through space like a dark tide, each vessel bristling with enough firepower to level entire continents. The Nigma Empire had been expanding for centuries, and every world they encountered had fallen within days, sometimes hours. The blue and green planet ahead looked no different from the Hing. Dozens of worlds Corvain had conquered in his 20-year career. According to the long-range scanners, the inhabitants called their world Earth. The planet showed no orbital defense stations, no visible fleet, and no energy shields. Their technology appeared primitive, still relying on chemical rockets for basic space travel. Commander, called Lieutenant Zaravex from the communications station, "We're receiving a transmission from the planet." Her voice carried a hint of amusement. "It appears to be some kind of diplomatic message." Corvain's scaled features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. In his experience, primitive worlds either tried to fight immediately or begged for mercy. Diplomatic messages were rare and usually meant the species was intelligent enough to recognize their hopeless situation. "Put it through," he ordered, settling back in his command throne. The main screen flickered to life, showing a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and kind but determined eyes. She wore a simple dark suit and sat behind a polished wooden desk. Behind her, a blue flag with white stars hung motionless. "Greetings," the human said, her voice clear and steady. "I am Dr. Sarah Chun, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Government. We welcome you to our solar system and hope for peaceful first contact between our civilizations." Corvain exchanged glances with his officers. The human spoke as if Earth was an equal power, not a primitive world about to be conquered. Around the bridge, his crew struggled to contain their laughter. "We understand your empire has been expanding through this region of space," Dr. Chun continued. "While we respect your right to grow, we must inform you that we consider the sphere of space within 50 light years of our home system to be under Earth's protection. We kindly request that your forces respect this boundary." The bridge fell. Silent, 50 light years. This tiny world was claiming an area larger than most established Nigma sectors. Corvain felt his amusement turn to irritation. "We have no desire for conflict," the human diplomat said, "but we feel it important to establish clear territorial boundaries to avoid any misunderstandings. We hope for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect between our peoples." The message ended with coordinates for a potential meeting at the edge of the solar system. Corvain stared at the empty screen, his 4 eyes narrowing. No species had ever dared to set conditions for the Nigma Empire. The audacity was breathtaking. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex said carefully, "should we respond?" "Get me Admiral Vex Vunder," Corvain growled. "Priority channel." Minutes later, the scarred face of Admiral Vunder appeared on the screen. The Admiral commanded the Nigma Empire's expansion forces from his mobile command base 3 systems away. His reputation for ruthless efficiency was legendary throughout the galaxy. "Commander Corvain," Admiral Vunder said, his voice like grinding stone. "Report." "Admiral, we've received a diplomatic message from the inhabitants of the target world. They're requesting territorial boundaries and asking us to respect their space." Admiral Vunder's laugh was harsh and bitter. "Territorial boundaries? These primitives think they can dictate terms to the Empire?" "Yes, sir. They claim sovereignty over a 50 light-year radius around their system." "Impossible. What do our tactical reports show about their military capabilities?" Corvain consulted his tactical displays. "No visible space fleet, Admiral. No orbital defenses. Their technology appears several centuries behind our standards. They seem to have some basic missile systems, but nothing that could threaten our Shields. Then why are they so confident? Admiral Vunder mused. In my experience, primitive species only show such boldness when they have hidden weapons or powerful allies. Perhaps they're simply ignorant of our capabilities, sir. Perhaps. But we cannot afford to take chances. The Emperor has made it clear that this expansion must succeed. Too many worlds are watching our progress. Corvain nodded. The Nigm, Empire's reputation, was built on unstoppable conquest. Any sign of weakness could inspire rebellions throughout their territory. What are your orders, Admiral? Standard protocol, Commander? Demand immediate surrender. If they refuse, demonstrate our power by destroying one of their major cities. Make it clear that resistance is futile. Understood, sir. The connection ended. Corvain turned to his crew, who were all watching expectantly. Prepare for standard conquest operations. We'll give these humans one chance to surrender peacefully. As his fleet approached Earth's outer atmosphere, Corvain received another transmission. This time, the screen showed a different human. Man in military uniform standing in what appeared to be a command center filled with advanced technology. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Coordination Center, the man said. His voice was calm, but carried an underlying steel. Commander Corvain, we are aware of your fleet's approach. This is our final warning. Turn back now. Corvain leaned forward in his throne. Human, you are in no position to give warnings. Surrender immediately, and your species will be spared. Commander, we have tried to establish peaceful contact. We have been clear about our territorial boundaries. We have no wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. You will defend yourselves? Corvain's voice rose. You have no fleet, no defenses, nothing but primitive weapons. How do you plan to defend against 500 of the Empire's finest warships? Captain Morrison's expression remained unchanged. Commander, you have been warned. We strongly advise you to reconsider your approach. The only thing I'm reconsidering is whether to destroy one city or 10. Corvain cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Target their largest population center. Prepare for demonstration bombardment. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the fleet's chief scientist, looked up from her sensor readings with a puzzled expression. Commander, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures throughout the system. What kind of signatures? I'm not certain, sir. There are energy patterns that don't match any known technology in our databases. They appear to be coming from empty space, but that's impossible. Corvain dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. Probably just natural phenomena. Solar flares, magnetic fields, that sort of thing. Focus on the target coordinates. As the fleet moved into attack position, Corvain felt the familiar thrill of conquest. Soon, another world would bow before the Empire's might. The humans had shown courage in their final moments, he had to admit, but courage meant nothing against superior firepower. All ships report ready for bombardment, his tactical officer announced. Excellent. Open fire on my mark. The Nigma fleet powered up their weapons, energy building in massive gun batteries that could crack mountains. Corvain raised his hand, preparing to give the order that would end humanity's resistance. But before he could speak, his sensor operator called out in alarm. Commander! Multiple contacts appearing around the fleet. Corvain spun to look at the tactical display. His blood turned to ice. Hundreds of unknown vessels were materializing around his fleet, appearing from nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. The ships were enormous, sleek, and white, each one dwarfing his largest battle cruisers. Where did they come from? He demanded. Unknown, sir. They appeared without any hyperspace signatures or energy discharges. It's like they were always there, but invisible. The unknown ships hung in space around the Nigma fleet like silent predators. They showed no weapons, no obvious threat, but their very presence was terrifying. Corvain had never seen technology that could hide such massive vessels so completely. How many are there? I count over 800 ships, sir. They've completely surrounded us. Corvain stared at the display, his mind racing. The tactical situation had changed completely in a matter of seconds. His fleet was outnumbered and surrounded by vessels of unknown capability. Sir, his communications officer called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship." A new face appeared on the screen. This human was older, with silver hair and calm, intelligent eyes. He wore a simple white uniform without excessive decoration, but his presence commanded immediate attention. "Commander Corvain," the man said, "I am Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Fleet. You were warned multiple times. You chose to ignore those warnings and approach our world with hostile intent." Corvain tried to project confidence. "Admiral Webb, you are interfering with a lawful military operation. The Nigma Empire claims this system by right of conquest. Commander, there will be no conquest today. Your fleet will power down its weapons and withdraw from this system immediately. You're threatening a Nigma task force? Do you understand what you're dealing with?" Admiral Webb's expression remained calm. "Yes, Commander. The question is, do you understand what you're dealing with?" Corvain felt a chill run down his spine. The human's confidence was absolute, unshakable. This was not the bravado of a desperate species making empty threats. This was the quiet certainty of someone who held all the cards. ADM**. The crushing reality the Nigma fleet unleashed its full firepower. 500 warships opened fire simultaneously, their weapon systems designed to reduce planets to molten slag. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human vessels, enough destructive force to obliterate entire solar systems. Commander Corvain watched the tactical display, expecting to see the mysterious ships destroyed, or at least damaged. Instead, something impossible happened. The weapons simply stopped working. Energy beams flickered and died halfway to their targets. Missiles lost power and drifted harmlessly through space like discarded toys. "What's happening?" Corvain shouted. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Sir, all weapon systems are reporting failures. Energy levels are dropping across the fleet. That's impossible. Run diagnostics on all systems." "Sir, the diagnostics show that our weapons are working perfectly, but the energy is being absorbed somehow." Corvain felt a cold dread settling in his stomach. Around him, his bridge crew was reporting system failures throughout the fleet. Not just weapons, but engines, shields, and life support systems were beginning to shut down one by one. "Sir," Dr. Vasquez called out from her science station, "I'm detecting massive energy manipulation throughout the fleet. Something is systematically draining power from our ships." "The human vessels?" "I don't know, sir. I can't detect any energy beams or weapons fire from them. They're just there." On the main screen, Admiral Webb's face remained calm and patient. "Commander Corvain, your weapons have been disabled. Your ships are no longer a threat to anyone. We are going to escort you to the edge of the system." "You can't do this," Corvain snarled. "The Empire will not tolerate this insult. Commander, we warned you multiple times. We gave you every opportunity to approach peacefully or to turn back. You chose to ignore our warnings and threaten our world with destruction." Around the Nigma fleet, the human ships began to move. They didn't fire weapons or use visible tractor beams. Instead, the disabled Nigma vessels simply began to drift toward the edge of the system, guided by some invisible force. "Sir," his helmsman reported, "we're being moved against our will. I can't regain control of the ship." Corvain slumped in his command chair, watching helplessly As his mighty fleet was herded like livestock by technology, he couldn't begin to understand. The human ships escorted them with the casual ease of shepherds guiding sheep. "Dr. Vasquez," he said quietly, "what kind of technology are we dealing with?" The scientist shook her head. "I don't know, sir. The energy readings are unlike anything in our databases. It's as if they're manipulating the fundamental forces of physics in ways we never imagined possible. How long until we can restore power? I don't know. A power drain seems to be selective. Life support and basic systems are still functional, but weapons and engines are completely dead." Hours passed as the human fleet gently but inexorably pushed the Nigma ships toward the edge of the solar system. Corvain tried repeatedly to contact Admiral Vunder, but even his communications were being locked. Finally, as Earth's sun became just another star in the distance, the invisible force holding his ships released them. Power began to return to engines and weapons systems. The human fleet maintained their escort positions, still silent and watchful. "Commander," Admiral Webb's voice came through the speakers. "Your ship's power has been restored. You are free to leave. Do not return to this system." "Admiral," Corvain said, trying to salvage some dignity, "this isn't over. The Empire will not forget this humiliation." "Commander, I hope for your sake that the Empire learns from this experience. We have no desire to be your enemies, but we will not tolerate threats to our world or our people." The human ships began to fade from sensors, becoming invisible once again. Within minutes, the Nigma fleet was alone in empty space, their mighty armada reduced to a collection of defeated vessels limping home. "Sir," his communications officer said, "I'm getting Admiral Vunder on the emergency channel." The Admiral's scarred face appeared on the screen, his expression thunderous. "Commander Corvain, report your status immediately." "Admiral, we have been defeated. The humans have technology far beyond our understanding. They disabled our entire fleet without firing a single shot." "Impossible. You had 500 ships." "Sir, they appeared from nowhere with over 800 vessels, each one larger than our biggest battle cruisers. They neutralized our weapons, disabled our engines, and escorted us out of the system like we were children." Admiral Vunder was silent for a long moment. "Did you gather any intelligence on their capabilities?" "No, sir. We have no idea how they do what they do. Their technology operates on principles we don't understand. Return to base immediately. We need to report this to the Emperor." The connection ended, leaving Corvain alone with his thoughts and his shattered pride. In 20 years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans had made the Nigma Empire look like primitive savages. 3 days later, Corvain stood in the Emperor's throne room, still trying to process what had happened. Emperor Valdris sat on his crystal throne, his ancient eyes glowing with barely contained rage. Around the chamber, the Empire's top military leaders listened Corvain's report with expressions of disbelief and growing fear. "You're telling me," the Emperor said slowly, "that a species we classified as primitive defeated 500 of our finest warships without sustaining a single casualty?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered. They manipulate energy and matter in ways that seem to violate the laws of physics." "Impossible. Our science is the most advanced in the galaxy. We have conquered over 300 worlds." General Thakmoron, the Empire's chief military strategist, leaned forward. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider the possibility that these humans discovered some form of ancient technology. There are legends of precursor races with advanced capabilities." "Even if that's true," Admiral Vunder said, "they still caught us completely off guard. Our intelligence was worthless." The Emperor's eyes fixed on Corvain. "Commander, you said they offered to negotiate. What were their terms?" They requested that we respect their territorial boundaries, Your Majesty. They claimed sovereignty over a 50-light-year sphere around their system. 50 light years, the Emperor mused. That's a significant area of space. If they have the technology to enforce such a claim. Your Majesty, General Moron interrupted, we cannot allow this precedent. If word spreads that the Empire negotiated, with a single world, it could inspire rebellions throughout our territory. The alternative, Admiral Vunder said quietly, is to face technology we don't understand with forces we now know are inadequate. The throne room fell silent. For the first time in the Empire's long history, they had encountered a species that could not only resist conquest, but actively humiliate their forces. What do you recommend? The Emperor asked. I recommend we honor their territorial claim. Admiral Vunder said. At least until we understand their technology better. We cannot afford another defeat like this. General Moron stood up angrily. That's surrender. The Empire does not negotiate with inferiors. General, Admiral Vunder replied coldly. After what happened to Commander Corvain's fleet, can you still call them inferiors? Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chun sat in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, reading reports from the Defense Coordination Center. The Nigma fleet had withdrawn as requested, but she knew this was likely just the beginning. Captain Morrison entered her office with a tablet full of sensor data. Dr. Chun, we're detecting increased activity throughout Nigma space. They're pulling back their expansion fleets and concentrating forces near their core worlds. Are they preparing for another attack? We don't think so. Our deep space monitors suggest they're adopting a defensive posture. They seem to be re-evaluating their entire expansion strategy. Dr. Chun nodded. Good. That was our goal. We never wanted to destroy them, just make them think twice about aggressive expansion. The other galactic powers are taking notice too. We're receiving diplomatic inquiries from dozens of species that were previously under Nigma pressure. Excellent. Perhaps this will lead to a more stable galactic community. Captain Morrison looked out at the ocean. Dr. Chun, do you think we did the right thing? Revealing our capabilities like this? Captain, we spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. Our ancestors knew that someday we would encounter aggressive species like the Nigma Empire. We built our defenses, developed our technology, and prepared for the day when we would have to choose between submission and resistance. And now? Now the galaxy knows that Earth is not defenseless. We've shown that aggression has consequences, but we've also shown that we prefer peace to war. Hopefully, other species will learn from the Nigma Empire's mistake. In the months that followed, the balance of power in the galaxy began to shift. The Nigma Empire, once the dominant force in galactic politics, found themselves increasingly isolated. Species that had once feared them began to form alliances and mutual defense pacts. The humans, meanwhile, opened diplomatic channels with dozens of civilizations. They shared some of their defensive technology with species threatened by aggressive neighbors, always with the understanding that it would be used only for protection. Command **.